We're doing chapter number 16, verse number 19 and 20. Tanaham dvishatah kruran samsareshu naradhaman kshipayamyajasram ashubhan asurishva eva yonishu. Any devotee would like to recite the shloka?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Shall
Yeah,
I?
go ahead. Yes, please.
Tanaham dishata kruran samsareshu naradaman shipamya jas shipamya ajasram ashubham
Shubhan.
asurishva yonishu. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence into various demoniac species of life. Okay. So the context of this sloka is, this is the chapter number 16, and the name of this chapter is called the divine and the demoniac people. So there are two types of natures, divine and demoniac. And then we have seen here, it's given in the chapter number 16, you can see here, all the qualities of divine and the qualities of demoniac have been explained. So the first verse, first 1 to 3 verses explains about the divine nature. So what are the qualities for the divine nature people? Like fearlessness, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, self-control, forgiveness, freedom from envy, etc., etc., etc. And then Krishna goes on and explains in detail about the qualities of the people who are having demoniac nature. There are two type of people, right? Here Krishna is saying, see, there are two kinds of living beings, created beings. One is called the divine and the demoniac, right? And divine has already been explained here. Okay, divine, the transcendental nature, the transcendental qualities are conducive to liberation. Divine qualities, why should we have all of these good qualities, is because it's conducive for liberation, whereas the demoniac is the opposite. It makes for bondage. And then the demoniac has been explained here. The demoniac are very harsh, they have excessive pride, and they're very arrogant, right? And they do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. And they do not believe in God. Okay, they have got their own philosophy and they don't believe in God. They say that the world is unreal, there's no foundation, there's no God in control, etc., etc. And then they only believe in lust. Okay. And then these demoniac people, they adhere to some kind of demoniac conclusions and they engage in unbeneficial and horrible works. Okay, unbeneficial and horrible works which are meant for destroying the world, and then they get attracted to the impermanent and they are always sworn to the unclean work. They do not do work as per Bhagavad Gita, right? And then here is a very important point. They believe that to gratify the senses is the prime necessity of the human civilization. But actually, if we analyze and see, majority of the created beings are demoniac, because everybody believes in this philosophy that the purpose of human life is sense gratification. So the more a person is gratifying his senses, the more advanced that person is, what we think in the Kali Yuga. So but then this kind of attitude is heavily condemned by Krishna, saying that this kind of attitude, instead of thinking that liberation is the purpose of life, to go back to God, it is the purpose of life, to attain love of God, it is the purpose of life. If we don't think like that, but if we think sense gratification is the purpose of life, then till the end of the life, the anxiety of such people is immeasurable, right? It's immeasurable anxiety, and bound by a network of hundreds and thousands of desires, right? Hundreds and thousands of desires, and absorbed in lust and anger, kama, krodha. And then they secure money by illegal means for sense gratification, and they try to get money by illegal means for just simply gratifying the senses. And in the upcoming verses, there's a description of how demoniac people think. Oh, I have so much of money. I'm going to increase my money more. He's my enemy. I'll kill him. If there's my enemy, I'll kill him. I'm perfect. I'm so powerful. I'm happy. I'm the richest man. There's nobody as good as me, right? And then I will enjoy. He'll be like that. That's the mindset, okay? And in this kind of mindset, he's actually not very peaceful. That person, we see demoniac people are always in a worry. We actually see the history. We see that Ravana, you see Duryodhana, they were never happy, right? They were always trying to be very proud and trying to think that they were perfect. But then we can see from their personal lives that they were always filled with anxieties, right? And then they become too strongly attached to sense gratification. And ultimately, they fall down to hell. They fall down to hell. And they do not follow any rules or regulation. And they proudly perform some sacrifices for name's sake. They're actually not interested in religion. They believe that religion, they think that faith is a business. That's what a demon thinks, right? He thinks that a religion is meant for getting sense gratification, right? And then completely bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, these demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blaspheme against the real religion. This is a very important verse. See, a lot of people, they don't understand what is real religion. Krishna is saying that yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bharata. That means whenever there is a decline in dharma, he said, Sambhavami yuge yuge. He said that I will myself appear to correct dharma. So if Krishna is appearing for correction of dharma, towards the end Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja. Then if he is coming for correcting dharma, then why is he saying that abandon all varieties of religion? Sarva dharman parityajya. He's saying parityajya, give up all varieties of religion. Mam ekam sharanam raja. So the meaning is, the real religion is to surrender to Krishna. That is real religion. Everything else is external. It's just an external kind of a religion. It's not the real religion. But then, how do you identify a demon? So the quality of a demon is that a demon is always blaspheming against the real religion. And he will be praising the artificial or external religion or irreligion. So every demon has got his own thought process, right? So, for example, here we are listening to Krishna's Bhagavad Gita. We are all following Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's Gita. That is the song sung by the God, Lord Krishna. Perfect person, Purushottama. He's perfect, right? But every living entity has got his own thought process and value system, right? Especially, particularly, demons have got their own system. So we don't hear demons' stories. I mean, there's some they do get a lot of followers. They may get a lot of followers, but we don't follow them. You see. So these demons, how do you characterize them? Is that they first of all become very antagonistic towards Krishna, and towards those people who are following Krishna, and then they also blaspheme against Krishna consciousness, the real religion. And then Krishna is saying, for such people who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among the men, I perpetually cast them into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. So what happens to those people who are blaspheming the real religion, that is the love of Godhead, Krishna consciousness? See, Krishna consciousness means to always think about Krishna. Matchitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam. Matchitta. Mat means Krishna is speaking. Therefore, Matchitta means Krishna Chitta. Krishna Chitta means being in consciousness of Krishna. So those people who are in consciousness of Krishna, Krishna is praising them. He's saying that Mahatmanam stu mam partha daivim prakritim ashritaha. He's saying that they are great people, great souls who are taking the shelter of the divine nature, transcendental nature, and they are who are always thinking about me. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Always think about me, become my devotee. But then on the contrary, those who ignore these instructions and who are envious and mischievous and who are demons, who are the lowest among the mankinds, samsareshu naradhaman. Krishna is saying, Kshipayami, I perpetually cast them. You see, Kshipayami, Ajasram Ashubhan Asurishu, Eva Yonishu. Here the word Kshipayami is very important. Kshipaya means I put. That means Krishna is saying he will personally put them into the cast of ocean of material existence. So it is clearly saying that it is done by supreme will. It is by Krishna's will that a living entity gets a human body or a living entity gets a animal body. So different types of bodies are there. There are 84 lakh species of life. Okay, there's a verse in Padma Purana which says Jalaja Navalakshani Stavara Lakshavimshatu. So it gives a very great detail about what are the different types of bodies, different types of species of life, different types of bodies available in the material nature. And if you look around and see, there are so many different type of animals, right? We do have human beings, around 7 billion. And we also have billions and trillions of insects and flies and ants and rats and dogs and cats. So the reason why a person is getting a human birth and a person or a living entity is not getting a human birth is because of the enviousness or the mischievousness. Okay. So based on that, I perpetually cast. So what happens to them is like they get into the demoniac species, like here it is given. The next birth will depend on the decision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Especially it's given in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3rd canto, Kapila Gita. Okay, the movement of the living entities. Yeah, it is given very clearly that how an individual soul is after death is put into the womb of a mother. Okay, and it is done by the under supervision of the superior power. Karmana daiva netrena jantur deva upapadyate karmana daiva netrena. How asat sadasat yonishu janmashu. That means whether you're going to get a sat janma or asat janma. Sat janma means human birth is sat janma. It is a good birth because you have an opportunity to go back to Godhead. Asat janma means an animal birth. An animal does not have an option or a possibility to go back to Godhead unless there is a pure devotee who is chanting for that animal, right? Otherwise, there is no possibility. So it is said here that is put into the womb of a mother where he gets a particular type of body. Different types of bodies are there called Svedaja, Andaja, and Udbija and Bija. So that is either there's some plants which are coming from seeds, and there are some birds and reptiles coming from eggs, and there's some insects which are born from perspiration or sweat, and there's some mammals which are born from the womb of a mother. So like this, they'll be put into one of these animal species. And we see here animals, insects, so many different types. They are all arranged by the Daiva Netrena, superior power. So here is the explanation. So there is no explanation in any kind of religion. Nobody has any clue. If you ask anybody, you can ask like, nobody has a clue. We have so many religions, but nobody can explain this simple point. Why are there so many animals? If human beings are the only people who are supposed to be judged, then why do we have so many animals there? Is it by accident or is it that they do not have a soul at all? Then they say animals do not have soul. It doesn't make sense at all because without soul, there cannot be a living entity at all, right? Whenever there are these 6 characteristics, that is birth, growth, staying, decaying, old age, and death, we know that there is a soul for sure. And Krishna is also saying that there is no element in the world where there is Kshetra and Kshetrajna. So the soul is present, the living entity is present everywhere, right? So it is not possible that anybody can say that, the dogs don't have a soul, right? The cats don't have a soul. Okay, so the goat doesn't have a soul. So let me kill it and eat it. That's not acceptable. That's not a common sense logic. So, but then here we see very clearly it's a transmigration of the body. And then who is getting these animal bodies, insect bodies, or who is getting this demoniac bodies? We see so many demons who are coming to Vrindavan, right? Who are coming to Vrindavan. And then we also see, those people, all the demons who are coming to Vrindavan, they are actually devotees who fell down, okay? Who fell down at the time of doing the devotional service. They were personally corrected by Krishna. But then those, like, for example, like, who are not killed by Krishna personally, they are the demons who are like performing very, very demoniacally. And then here it is said, they continue to be envious and the lowest among the mankind, and they're full of lust and violent and hateful and unclean. And it's also said that there are many kind of hunters in the jungle. These hunters in the jungles are also considered to be belonging to the demoniac species of life. Let's go to the next one. Says Asurim yoni mapanna mudha janmani janmani mam aprapyaiva kaunteya tato yantya adhamam gatim. Attaining repeated birth amongst the species of demoniac life, O son of Kunti, such persons can never approach me. Gradually they sink down to the most abominable species of life. So we know that Krishna is all merciful. But Krishna is merciful. That does not mean that Krishna does not punish. Dando damayatam asmi. So the original punishment principle, Krishna says it is me. So anybody who is not following the principles, there is a punishment. Just like how in the government, we are in India and we're following the Constitution of India. And if anybody who is not following the Constitution of India, if we violate the laws of the land, we will be punished by the police, will be punished by the law of the land, right? So there is a punishment. So you cannot say that government is very kind, therefore the government shall not punish. If that is the case, then there will be so many people who will be not following the rules. And because of them, those people who are following the rules will be troubled. So if there's so many people who are not filing taxes and who are not following the traffic rules and who are violating the fundamental rights, then it will actually cause a lot of disturbance for others, right, who are following it nicely, right? And if you allow drunk and drive cases, they will go and kill people on the pedestrians and on the roads. So you cannot leave them, let loose them like that, right? They must be punished. Similarly, Krishna is punishing those people who are demoniac, who are not following, who are envious, who are mischievous, who are very lusty, who are very angry, and who are very materialistic, who are not Krishna conscious, right? So we see the story of Ajamila. In the story of Ajamila, what happens is that there was a Brahmana named Ajamila, and then what happens to him is that he somehow sees a prostitute lady, and then he falls in love with her, and then he marries her, and then he kicks out his parents and his chaste wife from home. And later what happens is he has around 10 to 13 kids with her, and he's 88 years old. For the last son, he names him as Narayana. So all the time he's calling that son, Narayana, please come here. Narayana, please eat this. By this time, Ajamila is so fallen that he is actually a dacoit and he's a most sinful person. But somehow, by good fortune, he has named his youngest son as a Narayana. And he's continuously calling, Narayana, please come. Narayana, please eat, like that. And then, at the time of death, so the Yamadutas come. And then they put that noose around him and they try to pull out that living entity from within. Ajamila says, I don't want to die. And then he shouts, Narayana. He's just remembering his youngest son. He's not remembering Narayana, the Supreme Lord. But doesn't matter. It's the same. Okay, the name and the Lord's name and Lord is not different. Kalikale Nama Rupe Krishna Avatara. So Krishna's name itself is Krishna Avatara. So anybody who takes the name of Krishna at the time of death, he will be delivered. Antakale chamameva smaran muktva kalevaram yaprayadi samadbhavam yatirastatra samshaya. Anybody who remembers Krishna at the time of death will go back to Godhead. So therefore, he remembers Krishna Narayana, and then immediately Vishnudutas come and stop the Yamadutas and let him live. And then he immediately gets a realization, and then he does devotional services, go to Haridwar and does devotional service very nicely for 1 year. And then the same Vishnudutas will come and take him back to God. Right? So here we see, this is a story that how a demoniac person will be definitely be punished. You see that the Yamadutas had come to take him. Right? It is not that there is nobody who is counting these sinful reactions. Okay, there is Yama Dharmaraj, that is who is Yama, who is the king of this Yamaloka, and who is making a note of all the kind of activities that people are doing, religious, irreligious activities, both. And Yamadharmaraja, when questioned by Yama Dutas, that how is it possible that these Vishnu Dutas were able to release these people? Generally, that once we decide to kill somebody, nobody is allowed to be alive. But then these Vishnu Dutas were able to relieve this person. How is it possible? Right? So at that point of time, Yamadharmaraj, he says that anybody who chants the name of Krishna, right, even unconsciously, he will become liberated. Unconsciously, Yannama, it said in the Vivasho Grinan, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it said, even if you unconsciously chant the names of Krishna, you can become liberated. So that is the power of the holy names of Krishna. And then he says, please do not go to these devotees who are sincerely practicing Krishna consciousness. And he says the opposite instruction also. He says, those who are not following Krishna consciousness, those who do not chant the names of Krishna, who do not remember the pastimes of Krishna, those who do not remember the qualities of Krishna, please drag them towards this hell. So they are eligible for hellish planets. So actually we see the Srimad Bhagavatam also, there's a description of the movement of living entities. In that there is a vivid description of how those people who are doing sinful activities, they'll be taken to hell. And it's not one hell. You know, a lot of religions talk about hell, but Sanatana Dharma, very clarity is there. What is the types of hell? 28 types of hell are given. That is the least number of descriptions, Srimad Bhagavatam. And if you want more details are given in some other Vedic literatures also. Right? It said, Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma, yadindriya priti apnoti. That means, Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma means because of madness, all the living entities are doing vikarma. Vikarma means the things that they're not supposed to be doing. Right? What is vikarma? Like we are supposed, like, as far as we are in the government of India jurisdiction, so we are supposed to be like good citizens. We are supposed to be pay taxes. We're supposed to not be hurting anybody and following the rules and regulations of the traffic, etc., etc., etc. But if you start violating it, if everybody starts violating, right, that is what is the condition right now. Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma. Everybody is doing vikarma. Majority of them, everybody, and then they don't realize that they are going to hell, right? And then they just continue like that. But then intelligent person must not do that. They should stop that. The reason for this vikarma or doing a wrong activity is sense gratification, indriya priti. To satisfy our senses, we are forgetting the main principle of Krishna consciousness. Right? So therefore, we see here, Krishna is saying very clearly that these people who do not follow the rules and regulations, who are not following the instructions of Krishna consciousness, Bhagavad Gita instructions, right, to always remember Krishna, they will attain repeated birth amongst these species of demoniac life. Asurim yoni maapanna mudha janmani janmani. Mudha. Mudha means foolish. That means animal body. So they will repeatedly get animal bodies. So it says here, they will achieve bodies like those of cats, dogs, and hogs. And then they will gradually sink. It is said that those people, in that consciousness, they will sink to become dogs and hogs. Right? And also, we should understand that those people, Krishna is not at all merciful to such demons. So Krishna's mercy is always there. Government is always merciful. Government is always, equal to everybody. The judge, if a judge is giving punishment, corporal punishment for an offender, It does not mean that the judge is a bad person or a good person. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no hatred for anybody. But yet, those people who are mischievous and envious, they will be placed in the Asuri Janmashu. They'll be made into demons. That is also a kind of a mercy of the Lord. Because sometimes these demons will be personally punished by Lord. So that is the mercy of the Lord towards the demons, that he will personally punish them. Being demons, they are envious to Krishna. And they come face to face to kill Krishna. And they get killed by Krishna and they get purified. Just like Ravana, Kamsa, Hiranyakashipu, etc. Lord appeared in various incarnations to kill them, just to kill them. Like that's God's mercy on the Asuras, if they are fortunate enough to be killed, if they are fortunate enough. But generally what happens is they will sink down to the most abominable type of existence. So it's more or less like an infinite cycle of animal bodies. They will be stuck. So there's if you want to know like what all it is, there may be technical details, but actually if you go to a zoo, this is a perspective that you should be actually looking at. So we feel amused when we see the monkeys and the snakes, etc. But we should actually see that if I am not very careful in this life, I'll be stuck in the zoo, is what we should be thinking. That if I am a little bit careless, if I miss this chance, then, or if I become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I may be placed in one of these chambers of the zoo, and not just one lifetime, but Krishna is saying perpetually. We don't know how long it is. Very, very long time. And after a long time, Brahmande Brahmite Kono Bhagyavana Jiva, Guru Krishna Kripa Paye Bhaktilata Bija. After a long rotation of cycle among all the different species of life, right? Different kind of bodies are there, aquatic bodies, like deep sea whales, right? Snakes, insects, like that. So many millions of bodies, right? And demoniac species are there. After going through all of them, finally, we get to the human birth in the Bharata Varsha, in India, right? And then, Kona Bhagyavana Jiva, Guru Krishna Kripa Paya Bhaktilata Bija, by the mercy of the spiritual master, by the mercy of the bona fide spiritual master, Guru, by the mercy of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paya Bhaktilata Bija, then we get this option of doing devotional service. Then we get the chance to chant the holy names of Krishna. But if we miss that opportunity, then Krishna will send us back to those same different species. It's like, snake and ladder. So originally the snake and ladder is an Indian game. In Telugu, we call it as Vaikuntapali. So there's like a snakes and ladders game. In that there is one, and then there's different snakes. These snakes are different anarthas that we have. And the ladders are all the spiritual activities that we do. And the idea is go to Vaikunta, go back to Godhead. That's the idea. If when you go back to 100, when you finish the game, then you are in Vaikunta. And you go back to Vaikunta. That's the original game. Okay. So as long as if we are little careless, then there will be a snake. And then we may come back to 2 also. The 1, 2, 3, 4, and start from 2. So it's like a cycle of birth and death. And there are 84 lakhs of species of life. So we should be very careful. Therefore, the Upanishads say that Uttishta Jagrita. So the Upanishads are saying awaken and arise. And it also warns and says awake and arise and have a spiritual life. That is the original kind of a statement from the Upanishads. Awake and arise and have a spiritual life. The spiritual life is like walking on the edge of a razor. It's like a razor edge. So there, the devotional life is like on walking on a razor edge. Okay. So if we deviate towards left, it will be something. If you deviate towards right, there's a problem. On one side is the monism, that is Mayavad. So there are some people who think that I am God, I shall become one with God. So that is one deviation. On the other side is Sahajiya. Sahajiyas are those people who do not like to follow the rules given by Krishna, given by the spiritual master. But they try to imitate the position of the great devotees. They think that rules and regulations, they are not for me. I'm special. They are Sahajiyas. They think that I'm already very elevated. So both of them are, deviation. It's like, walking on the edge of the razor. We should very carefully walk on this path. So that is why it is said that without the help of the spiritual master, our spiritual life, there will be many troubles. A person can never be liberated. Without a spiritual master, a person can never be liberated in any lifetime. Bona fide spiritual master is compulsory. And only by holding the lotus feet of the bona fide spiritual master, one can stay on the track and go back to home, back to Godhead. Okay. So this is the principle of Krishna consciousness. Okay. So yes, so that's what we discussed today. We discussed about two verses from chapter number 16, verse number 19 and verse number 20, where Krishna is talking about how he punishes those people who are envious towards him. All right. Anybody has any questions or any comments that you want to ask or want to add? Hare Krishna. Any questions? Okay.